Good morning and welcome. Welcome to my live stream, Fight CPS with your host, Bob Pace. It's a warm welcome, and I am so glad that you found me. You found me on Facebook and Fighting CPS. Now, this is a live stream from the West Coast of California, and I am. It is February the 22nd, um, and I'm so glad that you're here. I know that you're faced the fact that you have a CPS case, a child protection system. That's what I call CPS, the child protection system. And you're dealing with a very difficult agency because not all the child protection systems are good. Not all of them are bad. Would I say it's a 50-50 split? No, I think there are probably more good CPS, child protection systems, there are bad ones. But I've been doing this now for 17 months, and I've talked to over 1,000 people. Those 1,000 people have something in common. Their children were taken by mistake, and the families were upset and abused. Now, this is a live stream where you can interact. What I mean by that is that you can do several things. Um, One, you can send emojis, smiley faces, thumbs up, hearts, or even um, send me stars. Please check the follow button to follow me and the notification will know when I'm on. Now, I come on twice a day, 7 days a week, and that is from typically speaking at 10 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the west coast of California. And then again in the evening at 7 p.m. But on the weekends, I come on at 8 o'clock in the morning. 8 o'clock Saturday and Sunday, 8 o'clock. There's a live stream by Vincent Davis at 10:30. 10 o'clock, I'm sorry, 10 o'clock, where he does questions and answers, a couple hours from me from now. And it's important that you hear him because he has lots of things that can help you. Vincent W. Davis is my attorney. I highly recommend him. He has over 39 years of fighting CPS. He's trained and skilled in the areas of juvenile law, family law, and dependency law. And he's been a foster care himself. So he knows CPS quite intimately. He's also a trial attorney and and he knows how to get your children back. Now, what I call this agency, it's a government agency that's mandated by Congress to protect our children from neglect and abuse. They've told social services to create this entity. Every state, every county, it's different names. Like in California and Orange County, it's the Child Protection Services. Or in LA County next door, it's the Department of Children and Family Services. In Prescott, Arizona, it's Department of Children's Services. In Richmond, Kentucky, it's called a Bureau. But I call them all CPS, Child Protection Systems. So when I refer to the CPS, I mean all the entities, not only in the United States, but around the world. Yes, this live stream is heard around the world. And many people that have actually called in from countries far away. Right now, we've had people from Indonesia, Bangladesh, India, Saudi Arabia, Libya. In Africa, we've had Liberia, Sudan, Rwanda, Mozambique, and several provinces from South Africa. Then we go to Europe, it's England, Scotland, Wales, and Denmark and Sweden. Then across the pond, it's North America, it's 4 provinces in Canada, all the 50 states I've heard from, including the District of Columbia, which is not a state. Then south of border, Mexico, then South America, Grenada, then across the Pacific to New Zealand, and then 2 states in the land down under, Australia. So you all are warmly welcome. I'm not an attorney. I am a loving father. I've helped raise 6 children. I have 42 years of marriage experience. Also, I too have been in CPS, and the corruptness I've experienced firsthand. So I want to share what I did wrong. I've come up with 5 rules that if I had in place and followed them, I would never have had my children trafficked into foster care or alienated from their parents. It's a horrendous, terrible thing that children and parents go through this very troubled agency. Not all CPS is bad, but there are a lot of them. I would say over 1,000 counties that are bad. Now, I did say this is an interactive room. So if you have something you want to text me, either a comment or a question, please have it pertain to CPS. And I'd love to answer it and help you. Please show me your first name and the city or the county you're from, including your state. If you're from another country, please include also your country, your province and your country, or your state and country and your city. Try to be very complete with your case, and so that I can help you. I can help you. So I'd love to have text comments, and I'd love to help you with your answers. Now, also, you can be a guest on my podcast by emailing me one of the dates you'd like to be a guest on. I can take up to 9 of you on this live stream. And all you have to do is pick, I want to be on Bob's morning show or evening show. And it's Monday through Sunday, 7 days a week, 14 shows, Monday or evening. You're going to email it to Grace, my show producer, at vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And you just tell her the time you want to be on, the date and the time. And she takes care of the rest. She'll contact you and give you a link to get on StreamYard, which is the application I use when I broadcast on YouTube. It's StreamYard with broadcasting on YouTube. She'll inform you what to say and what not to say and things like that of nature. Now, the fourth way to react with this podcast is to call in to me, to my phone number here. My office number is 626-698-0990. And I love to have you on my podcast. All you have to do is call 626-698-0990. Now, by being a guest or being on my podcast, it works out great because you will get a free 15-minute consultation with my attorney, Vincent Davis. And what I mean by that is that he will do a private Zoom conference with you to talk about anything you have a question about. So you make your list of questions, prioritize them, and he'll answer them. He'll answer them. Now, there's another number. If you want to reach the law office of Vincent W. Davis, it's 888-888-6582. And when you call in, make sure you tell them that Bob Pace sent you. And there you can order books, guides. There's a new book out called The Grandparents' Guide Step by Step for Guardianship of California. It works in other states. There's other guides that you can get from too. The book from the guardianship for grandparents is $9.99, but if you use my discounted code, that's capital P, capital A, capital C, capital E, the number 50, PACE 50, you'll get it half off, 50%. 50%. Also, if you want to retain Mr. Davis, you can set up a meeting with him and you can retain him. He'll talk about his retainer. He fights cases all over. He has a case in St. Louis, Missouri, Oklahoma, Northern California, Kern County, Shasta County. Then locally, he's in Arcadia. He has cases in LA County, Orange County, Riverside County, and San Bernardino County. He's the real deal. You should get him. Also, that number you can ask for other attorneys for your other needs. You might need divorce or a criminal matter or a real estate matter or an immigration matter or a workplace matter. There's lots of areas of law that you need help on. Okay. Now, my live stream varies from day to day, the morning and evening. Sometimes it's crowded, sometimes it's not. There are my regulars, and I want to thank them all, and God bless them. I'm praying for them. Two of them really have had some hard times. Betty Jo, who got her niece adopted, but then lost it, and she's from Montana. And there is Akima Richardson, who, like myself, does a live podcast, live stream, not podcast, a live stream. And she just got word that her termination of parental rights going to end in next month. And so she has to fight that. She's also fighting the fact her children don't want her anymore. That's hard. That's hard that people can be like that. I don't understand that at all. It makes no sense. It's really hard how the pendulum swings. Fighting CPS is like open heart surgery. You need a professional attorney. My rule number one is you need to go out and hire one. I did. I hired Vincent Davis. Excuse me, my throat must be really dry. Now, Mr. Davis has been around, so he knows how corrupt and how bad CPS is. I know my experience too, because unfortunately, in 2010, my children, well, I lost my job through no fault of my own. And my children were taken. You know, they weren't in danger. They weren't in danger. See, what happens is that you have people that report children they suspect are abused or neglected. The only trouble is there's a group called the lay people that abuse it, and they can be really detrimental to your family. It's really tough. It really is tough. As I look back, I wish I had learned the things I know now. I wish I had followed my 5 rules. It took me a long time to hire an attorney because one, I didn't have the finances and I had to be creative and think out of the box. So I quick sold my home to get money to hire Vincent Davis. And when I did, he turned things around and started getting the boys back. Unfortunately, our daughters, see, I have 6 children I've helped raise, and 3 of them were old enough that they weren't involved when CPS attacked us. And I will say negative things about the CPS in Orange County because this is my first hand. This is something I knew. They're awful. They're awful. They don't care about families. They do not believe in family reunification. You see, this government entity that was created by social services is also to protect the family, to help the family get reunified if they need to break it up. They need to take the child apart because there's a danger and things in there. Now, being in school, I don't think my kids were in danger, but they thought so. They thought so. So they took my children. And they were put into a lot of danger themselves. CPS was not safe for my children. They were abused. And I think that's wrong. I think that is totally wrong. Good morning, Betty. I'm so glad you're here. I missed you yesterday. Go ahead, Betty. What is your question? What is your question? No, I'm sitting on a couch, uh, and my apartment's so small. When I lost my home, when I had to sell it to fight CPS, I had no place but to put the refrigerator in what is the living room. So um, that's where I'm at. I wish I was sitting in the kitchen. So, how are you doing today? How are you feeling? Good morning, Akima from Brooklyn, New York. We have Betty from Montana and Akima from Brooklyn, New York. These are two beautiful people that have come into my podcast as regulars, part of the family. Unfortunately, both of them are fighting CPS really bad, and they've been done wrong. They've been done wrong. I know, Betty, it's a hard thing. Um, what do you plan to do, Akima and Betty, about your situations? Maybe you can share it with the room, and maybe there's some ideas that they can help you with. Maybe they can help you with. Okay. But also, isn't the 17th they're going to want to discuss your TPR, your termination of parental rights? I'm glad you have somebody, Betty. That's beautiful. You're a beautiful person. Akima says, you must be speaking into the mic like me. Look how you spell my name, sissy. Okay. Not chemo. Okay. Let's don't be so hard on each other. We got to have humor. We got to be humor on here. I know it's hard. I agree, Akima. You two are beautiful people. You know, Akima Richardson, sometimes called KK, is from Brooklyn, New York. I've known her a long time, probably a good 17 months. You know, I've been doing this podcast since October 2023, every day, twice a day, holidays included. I come on here and I try my best to talk about something new, to try to help other people. And Akima, she had a fact finding case where she was trying to prove CPS wrong. But then they pulled a fast one on her and reversed the tables on her, and now are trying to bring up the termination of parental rights. And it's sad because she needs to get in touch with her children. Her children right now don't like their mother, which is wrong. And that's only because they've been alienated by CPS. And Betty, who followed everything by the book, adopted her niece, her brother's child, and had her. And then these crazy people, or this crazy mother of the child who's been strung out for drugs and didn't know how to take care of the child, now wants the child back, and then supposedly they're able to take the child back. I think it's wrong, and it's already been decided by a judge that Betty had guardianship of her niece. No question about that. Wow. Betty lives by a lake in Montana. That sounds like a fun time. I imagine the lake's cold. Now, Kima says they have a process server come to my home at 7 o'clock at night. I didn't open the door, but nevertheless, they had to provide service in order for it to be eligible and admissible. I don't know. Now, I've been told that if you do not get that document in your hands, it is not acceptable to leave it at the front door. That's not serving. That's not serving it. Now, Kima says what they're passing the baby around like she's cargo. These are human beings. I agree. Not in New York. They have to either get a signature of a person that lives in the residence on the lease or the head of the household. Well, if you didn't sign it, um, aren't you the head of the household, Akima? I'm really confused about that one. Bob, I never opened my door, but like I said, anything that is illegal and can't go wrong has went wrong in the case for me. I know, Akima. I know. I've been there. Everything I did was wrong. I had such a corrupt CPS system here in California. I went and fought the director of CPS. I've met with him numerous times. He works out of his own office building. That's the Taj Mahal of India, or like the Emerald City of the Wizard of Oz. It's all about money. And they illegally do it wrong. They illegally do it wrong. Now, see what you're saying here, Akima. I wouldn't say I'm happy, but in a way, I'm glad that there are other parents experiencing this, so we're not alone. But it's never a good thing. I know that. There are hundreds and thousands of parents that go through the nightmare of dealing with an agency that is so corrupt. As I tell people, you're like Alice in Wonderland. You fell into this rabbit hole, you met the Chester cat, they send you from room to room. They're crazy. They make you feel like you're crazy. And if you don't have an attorney, you don't stand a chance. You got to get a good attorney, somebody like Mr. Davis. And now all of a sudden, CPS is now medium, and psychics. They're not even licensed half the time. I agree. They think they're clinical psychiatrists. They can tell someone who's crazy. Betty says, come down to the boiling point. That the child has emotional bond with the foster care mother since she's been in foster care and she's been there for 2 years. Prove that there's emotional bond. Did the child, Betty, when you picked up your niece, did the child scream or yell that she didn't want to go? How was it when she left her foster care parents? And are those foster care parents interested in her as a person or interested in the money that they get from CPS? There's no bond. There's no bond. Yes, the child has been alone. It had a mother and a father that didn't care enough to take care of the child. But the temporary foster care, their only interest is one thing, it's money. Now, can that doctor prove that there's emotional attachment disorder? Studies have shown that blood, biological parents are the best parents for the child, not a stranger. That lady that she's with is a stranger. They do try to provide care and comfort for the child, but unless they made some false premises to that child, it's wrong what they're doing because now the child is like a yo-yo. They say, eat me, drink me, but yet they starve you and they make you extremely parched. Akima says, Betty, Mr. Davis always says relative placement supersedes foster care. Everything is about green. And I agree with that. Your blood, Betty, your blood to your niece, your blood. And I agree with that too, Betty. Not saying there's a color line, but there's a lifestyle difference. You're right. You're right, Akima. You're right. Now, for all of you listeners in there, besides Betty and Akima, who heard my story many, many times, there are 5 rules that I have. Rule number 1 is you need to hire an attorney. It's just like open heart surgery. You need a professional doctor to do your open heart. You're not going to be able to cut your heart open and work on your heart. Same thing goes for CPS. You are at the mercy without an attorney. Try to fight the case. And if you want to use the court appointed attorney, they're useless. They won't fight for your case. They're only schooled in the area of criminal law and they're hired by CPS and they're full of clients. They have 30 more clients. They don't have time for your case. So that's why rule number 1 is hire a professional attorney. And there's 2 questions you need to ask. And you need to get at least 3 quotes from 3 good attorneys. One of them can be Mr. Davis. He will definitely quote you on his retainer. He makes a decision how much retainer is, how long your case has been going on, and how difficult it is. Now, the question you should ask is that when you call up an attorney, the first question you need to ask is that, are they trained and licensed as a juvenile law, a family law dependency attorney who has fought CPS and gotten children back? If the answer is yes, your second question is, have you ever, when the case is closed, sued CPS in either state court or federal court and won money back? If the answer is yes, you got a fighter. You got a good attorney to start with. And then what you need to do is meet with them, see the chemistry, see the references. You need to ask for 3 references so that you can feel doubly sure you got the right attorney. And when you do get that attorney, hire them because it'll save your neck. I did. I got my 2 boys back thanks to Mr. Davis. So that's my rule number 1. Rule number 2 is your documents. It's very important that you document everything. And you need to keep a notebook to put everything in there so it's all in one place. And use subject dividers to organize it. And a hole punch to put your court documents in there. Keep track of your certificates from parenting classes or programs like domestic violence or drug addiction programs. Keep that in there also. There's an important document you need to create called a time log of incidents. It's that every time you have an incident with the police or social workers or the school, you need to record the incident and you need to have a sheet of paper. Your first line, you need 3 lines. Your first line will be to put down the date, the time, the location, the phone number, and the people you talk to. The second line is a summary of what the incident's all about. The third line is a summary of the outcome. And that's what you should do for every incident, because in 6 months' time, you won't remember it. In 6 months' time, you will not remember it. So documents, and you want to document all the meetings and everything you talk to. Try to record as much as you can. Be in public places like Starbucks or McDonald's. Don't meet in your home. Don't meet at their office. Bad things will come your way. The rule number 3 is you do not let them in your home. You don't let police in or social workers. CPS does not belong because they're for fishing. If you give them permission to enter your home, they think you gave them permission to search your home. You don't want them in your home. You don't want to deal with them. So don't answer the door. Also, there's run the risk of being shot at. I've heard of too many people, wrong place. They're investigating domestic violence. They shot a black airman at age 23. He's dead. He died on the phone talking FaceTime to his fiancée. He's gone. So don't answer the door. Too many bad things have happened. And if it's important enough, they'll either leave the document there at the front door or they will call you or send you a letter through the mail. There's only three ways they can enter your home. One, you give permission, or someone else in the home gives them permission to get enter the home. Or two, there's domestic violence going on, the child's in danger, and they have to go in there to save the child. So if that's going on, they will break into the home. And thirdly, if they have a warrant, but they have to go to a judge to ask for a warrant, they have to have a good cause or reason for a warrant. And it's got to be properly filled out. It's not a copy. CPS is notorious to use old warrants from other families, white it out and change things. Or they'll use a ruse that they have a warrant when they don't really have a warrant. That warrant got to give special instructions on what they can do and not do. Now, if you encounter them in your yard or outside, just be nice to them, but tell them you cannot speak to them until your attorney is present. Saying you have an attorney will sometimes scare them away because they hope they find people that don't have much money and can't afford an attorney, because then they can control the outcome. That's where they can make the money. That's where they can make the money. So, whatever you do, just tell them you need your attorney present and that you can't speak to them unless the attorney is present. That's your constitutional right. When you're involved in a legal matter, you're allowed representation. So you're allowed to have the attorney so you continue it. But be very careful what you say. Do not divulge anything to the social workers or the police. A lot of times social workers will use police. That's for protection of the social workers. Now, there's another thing called medical trafficking. You got to be careful about medical trafficking. That's where you take your child to urgent care or the emergency room of a hospital because there's a severe problem with them. There are social workers that work for CPS working in those facilities, urgent care or the emergency room. And what they'll do is they'll try to take your child away from you because they overhear something or misinterpret something. They think your child is being neglected. You got to be careful of those kinds of people. Don't let them take your child. They have to have a warrant, a court order warrant. Now, Betty and Akima have been kind of quiet. I know they're thinking out loud or listening. And I appreciate them in my room here because they're beautiful people. And I have faith in God. I pray every night, Betty and Akima, that things will start turning in your direction. But I know how hard it must be because I too lost a child through no fault of my own. At age 12, a social worker committed perjury in court, and she retaliated against us parents and said, "You never see your daughter again." At age 12, she instructed our daughter to emancipate from the parents. That means divorce your mother, your father, your three brothers, your two sisters, your grandparents, both sets, and your uncles and aunts and cousins. It was terrible. And then after that, she changed her name. She was told to change her name, and she had a beautiful name. And then she was told to seal her birth certificate, a new birth certificate. And she got a new social security card, and she was double dipping on her old social security card, a new one, against the funds that I had set aside in trust with the federal government. So that was terrible. That was wrong. So she was adopted. She got a new birth certificate, and her adopted parents are on there as the biological parents. That's not true. She's 22 now, still does not want to talk to us. I don't understand the rationality behind that. I do not understand that. So, for some of you that are in the room that are not talking or texting me a message or a comment, you can call in. There's still about 5 minutes left. You can call in. I have to end my podcast at 9 o'clock. Excuse me, at 9 o'clock, which right now it is 9 o'clock. So, Akima and Betty, I want to thank you very much. God bless you. And special prayers go out there that you, both of you are dealing with your losses. I admire both of you. You're good women, and you will get your children back. I don't want you to forget to give up. I don't want you to give up. So you take care, and I'm going to be going. I'll be on again at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time on the West Coast. I'll be on again, and I'd love to have you back again and to talk further. To all my listeners out there, keep fighting. Do not give up. Do not give up. You will get your children back. You just have to keep fighting and fighting. So this is Bob Pace saying goodbye until tonight.